Hello everybody, Mannix here. It is time for a tabletop knife review. Please subscribe and hit that little bell button if you wish to see more knife reviews, EDC videos, gear videos, stuff like that. I am uploading weekly as of now. Let's get right into the review. This is on the Schrade SCHA3CB. The CB right there just stands for the color combination on this one. The SCHA3 is the model name, or the A3, some people call it SCH, standing for Schrade, but whatever, it's complicated. It's called the SCHA3CB just for this review. There's a couple of different colors of this. They don't sell this one anymore. They don't make these anymore, but you can still find them new as of mid-2022. As I'm filming this right now, they are selling these new. They're probably just were unsold new in-box models. This was not the most popular knife when it came out. I want to say back 2013, 2014 or so. Maybe even later than that. But I do like it. It's very sci-fi, interesting, unique, bizarre kind of looking, and it is a functional folding knife. It absolutely will work. It does deploy well. It has a decent lockup. The blade still is sharp enough. Everything is good enough, but it's not, I'll just say this right now, it's not a great EDC option for a handful of reasons, and I'm going to get into that in this video right here. It's not bad. It absolutely is functional. It may look like a toy. I know, it looks really bizarre. Some people are just going to find this as just being flat out ugly. I don't think it is. I actually like the sci-fi look to it. I actually really don't mind that. And yeah, it does look kind of cheesy, but I think it's kind of cool at the same time. It's just something unique. I wouldn't want my whole collection to look like knives like this. Not really. Although that would be kind of cool to have a bunch of sci-fi knives. However, it's just cool for something a little bit different. You can still find these. Like I said, I believe they're still making the SCHA3B, which is just the all blackened version. The CB stands for the chameleon black. The black being this inlay you see right here as well as right there. The chameleon is referring to whatever this handle material, it's probably FRN. It doesn't feel like aluminum, but it might be. I don't really know. I don't really have a way to tell. It feels more like FRN to me. Because on one of the websites it said aluminum and chameleon handles. I'm assuming the chameleon handles are not aluminum, but why would they say aluminum? Are they talking about the liners? I don't freaking know. I'm really confused, but who really cares? It's a hard material that won't break on you, whether it's FRN or aluminum. Awesome. And I like the chameleon color. This is my favorite color of the 3 or 4, however many there are, because it's like a purple. See those purple lines of the shadows are? Those actually are not the shadows as much as those are actually, that's the color changing. It's hard to kind of see on the camera there, but it goes from like a purple to a turquoise. It's really, really interesting. It's a holographic, just really cool color and kind of weird, but for this style knife, for what it's reaching for, it fits very, very well. I think it's really cool. It's a sci-fi, alien spaceship kind of fighter jet thing, whatever you want to call it, looking knife. It's cool. I like the abrupt corners and turns on the handle right there. The Tonto blade mimics that. You can see the geometry of the blade as well is very interesting, and again, has a return of the theory of the knife's patterns. It's just really cool looking, I think. A lot of people are going to look at this and go, nope, instantly not interested. I understand, but I still think it's kind of cool anyway. Alright, let's get into the specs. Blade length is 2.9 inches. The handle length is 4.4 inches, making the overall length 7.3 inches. Weighs 4.9 ounces. Blade steel under this giant mess of text right here is the 4034 stainless steel, which is a Krupp steel, which, if you're not familiar, is the same stuff on this guy, the Cold Steel Range Boss. Great knife. Not a great blade steel. It's okay. But it performs somewhere around the 420 HC range, arguably worse than that. It's a very, very simple composition. It's chromium, carbon, and manganese. Even 420 HC, I think, has a couple more elements than that. It's very simple. It won't perform as well as even 8CR13 MOV. Probably somewhere around 7CR17. I haven't directly compared those two, but it's subpar, I think. It's still, the way they do the heat treatment, it's fine. It retains an edge okay. It gets razor sharp. It just doesn't hold it very long. It sharpens fast. You can strop it and get it sharp again quickly, but it just does not hold an edge very well. It's adequate for what it is. If you just cut 1 or 2 things every other day or so, you gotta open a package up or do simple cutting tests, it'll work just fine. It'll be okay. It's just not great for the money. Speaking of money, $63.95 is what at least the SCHA3B retailed at. I don't know about this one. It's kind of hard to tell because, again, they don't make this one in particular anymore. Maybe they stopped making all of them. I don't know. But these are harder to find than the other models as far as I'm concerned. You can get these all day long, around the mid $30 range. I think I got this one for $36, so a sub $40 knife, $35 to $40. Is that worth it? It's not bad. It's just not good. It's not a good value for this blade steel you're getting right here, which is funny because the Cold Steel Range Boss, the absolute cheapest I found this guy was $40, $41, $42 for this guy right here, and roughly, you know, maybe 36, 37 for this one. Just about the same price. You might save $5 on this one, and you have the same blade steel. You have a much stronger locking mechanism on the range boss right here. You have a longer edge, more to work with, but you do have a completely different design. It's like a squashed down knife. It's a lot shorter, it's a lot stubbier, it's a lot chunkier. It's a really chunky knife, actually. And it's assisted, too. Assisted, this is what they call the magic mechanism, I believe. It stands for something that's really convoluted. I don't even remember what it is, but it's kind of redundant. We have a safety mechanism on here. That's something interesting about there. I'll talk about that in a minute here, too. It is tip up right hand carry only. I'll talk about that pocket clip. These two knives share something very similar about their pocket clips. Yeah, we'll get into that in a bit. So it's kind of up to you which one's worth what. The blade steel's not great. If this is like $30 or even like $25, yeah, it's a good knife. $40, you can do a lot better. You know, for about the same exact price, you can get one of these. This is a Bird Caracara. I see these for around $36 all the time, so just about the same price, if not slightly cheaper than this one. Almost the exact same price. So 8CR13 MOV, which is going to be a little better than the 4034. Have a longer knife. You know, I think it's a lot more comfortable. We have multiple positions we can grip this one in. The pocket clip is swappable to 4 positions. It's a lot lighter. Functionally speaking, this guy wins overall, but it's not assisted. It doesn't have the secondary lock on there. It's not a liner lock. Some people want liner locks over lockbacks. You won't get this design. You know, if you want this design, that's just what you're going to pay. It's very unique. It's very interesting. I think it's worth it because it's so unique. It's just not fantastic for performance. You just want something to perform. Get a Bird. You know, get something like this, or even the Range Boss. You know, for almost the same price, it'll perform a little better overall. I think it's just more simple, more versatile. But this knife is unique. It is what it is, and if this is the design you're looking for, it's fine. I don't think it's too expensive. I don't think it's a terribly overpriced knife. I don't think it's a piece of crap. I think it's actually okay. I think this knife is okay for what it is, and I love the way it looks, which is why I bought it. Now, Schrade, ever since they were bought, I believe by Taylor Company or whatever it was, all those years back, 8 or 9 years ago, something like that, they did some very unique, interesting things. They were being very, very innovative, and what I can say is I think that's really cool. Some of their ideas were kind of flops, but some things they did were very interesting. For example, they made some of, if not the first ever, assisted OTF knives. Yeah, you heard that right. Assisted OTF. Not spring OTF knives that were automatics that would make them illegal. They made technically assisted knives that would go out the front. They did a lot of really interesting things. This magic switch right here, which is slightly different from, it's not a flipper actually. You might think that will appear down there as a guard, right? Boom, it's gone. Where'd it go? It's a separate piece of polymer right there that engages the knife, let's just say, and deploys it. Interesting, it's something different, something unique. We have a switch right here that not only is a safety switch to stop it from deploying, but it's also a safety switch that acts as a second lock for the liner lock. That's really cool too, so it's not a completely useless piece of polymer just floating around right there when the knife is engaged. It does absolutely nothing. It actually acts as both a secondary lock for the knife as well as a lock for it to keep it from deploying in the closed position as well. So that's really cool too. It doesn't automatically switch in places. It has a very positive snap to it. As you can hear, it actually works very well. Red meaning fire, go, danger, open, ready to go. And you don't see the red there, the safety is on. And again, it works as a secondary lock. That's cool. It's assisted. I don't really care for assisted knives. I don't dislike them. I just don't like them either. If I had to pick, do you want this knife assisted or manual? I'll pick manual every single time. I just think manual knives can be flicked out as fast, if not faster, than assisted knives. The one advantage to assisted knives is you can open them easier with one hand. You don't have to give it a wrist flick. You don't have to pop it a certain way. You just get it started, and it should, as long as it's successfully done. Some aren't, but if it is done well, it'll flick out and engage the locking mechanism every single time. But a disadvantage a lot of people don't talk about with assisted knives is you usually almost always need to provide it extra force to close it. This one's okay. You can actually close it with one hand just fine. Some knives, though, you may actually need to use two hands to close them, especially automatics, button lock automatics. Good luck trying to close one of those things with one hand. It's tricky. This one's actually okay, but I don't know. Assisted knives, that technology is kind of old now. It's not a big deal anymore. You know, early 2000s, late 90s, that was a huge deal. Whoa, it's like an automatic. It goes out really fast, and it's legal. Yeah, well, guess what, buddy? This knife's completely manual. Pop. Boom. Deploys lightning fast every single time. No wrist movement needed. No spring needed. It's got a solid lock up on there. You don't need something that forces you to open it fast every single time. I don't know. Whatever, but it's there. If you like assisted knives, there you go. It's actually, this one's done very well. Now, is there an advantage to this little magic switch right here? It's, again, you can see right there, just a piece of plastic kind of freely floating in there. The tang of the blade pushes that guy up. It's on a pivot or some kind of swivel. And you push it inward, and there you go. It's literally just acting as the knife's flipper. It's a separate piece of polymer that pushes the knife and goes flush underneath the spine of the handle right here. What does it do? Absolutely nothing. I don't see how this helps. If you just made this a flipper knife, it would behave exactly the same way. I don't see what the advantage to having that is. If you try hard at it, if you actually push it in place, you can actually keep it from going underneath the handle, and then you can see it just kind of freely floats around right there, and it's completely useless until you sit it underneath the handle, rest it underneath there, then it goes away. And there is a thumb plate right here, which works okay too, but if you use it, the magic mechanism just freely floats around up here as well. So, which is why I don't really use it. It just feels cheap to me when it's like that. It's a cheap piece of crap just floating around there doing absolutely nothing. Doesn't act as a good thumb ramp, but again, once you put it underneath there, it's fine. And then closing the blade pushes it back out, and it looks like a flipper. Is there an advantage to that? Can anyone explain to me why you would want that? I don't know. It's innovative. It's interesting. It's like a separate swish, but it still counts as an assisted knife. You're still pushing the blade. You're just pushing a mechanism that is pushing the blade. It's like a middleman. It doesn't really do anything, and I would argue having the guard there is an advantage. So if this were a flipper, you'd have a guard there, but there is no guard there. So why would you want that? I don't understand the magic. It's innovative. It's something different. It's something interesting. It's just not useful. There's no advantage to having that other than the fact that if you did not want a guard, there you go. There's your, if you want a flipper but you don't want a guard on your knife, that's what it's for. I don't see why you'd like that, but yeah, they were trying something different there. So again, the assisted, whatever torsion bar system they use, it's very good. It has a good action to it. The liner, it is a liner lock. This was new when I got it, but you can see how close that is to the end. Usually the life bar, the liner lock starts somewhere closer to the left, but you can see it looks like it's almost at its limit. It'll keep going and going and going to the right until it actually hits the liner, the steel liner on the right there, and then it may start having some problems. But that's just how I got it. It's just cheap. And again, if this were like $25, I'd have no issue with that, but it's approaching $40. Oof, there's a lot of competition out there. So as far as function goes, again, with this 4034 blade steel and the kind of subpar liner lock, I had a couple of these in the past. I had similar issues back in the day when I first got these. I don't know, it's slightly expensive for what it is. Ergos. Not bad, not good. It's uncomfortable right here where the cutouts are on the liner. It's interesting looking. Again, it fits the theme of the knife. It's different looking than a typical liner lock, but it's not a good design either. It's as far as function goes. It kind of bites at my fingertip right there. The pocket clip right here, this rides up in my hand, the palm of my hand. That's slightly uncomfortable too. Everything else is okay. It feels cramped to me. As you can see, my hand wants a little bit of extra something to grip onto. You cannot put a lanyard on here as well. As we talked about the deployment, that's good. Lockup, there's no up and down. There's a hair of side to side. You can adjust it, but there's another hit on this knife. We'll get out of the way right now. There's these rubber inserts right here. It is black you're seeing right here. That's a rubberized material. It's pretty dense. It doesn't feel like rubber too much. It's actually, but if you can make an indentation if you put your thumbnail in there. I hate rubberized materials. I'm sorry. I really don't like them. I feel like I can completely deteriorate and destroy them and rip them up really easily. They feel cheap to me. Even if it's a higher quality rubber, some sort of synthetic that has other materials in there to help make it more dense. I understand that. I'm just not a fan of rubberized anything. Rubberized handles on guns, don't like them. I do not like rubber for handles in general, but it's there. It does offer grip. It's pretty grippy, if you want that grip. And here's something interesting. They put rubberized inserts on the spine right here where your thumb would go. So instead of jimping, we have rubber. Does it work? Nope, it doesn't, because the stainless steel liners right there, your thumb just kind of slides on them instead of the rubber. Even then, they don't offer that much grip anyway, but it's interesting. That's a way to try to get your thumb to be a little bit more, I guess it's a little better, but it basically doesn't do anything. It's cool though, it's innovative, it's something different. Instead of jimping, we got rubber for your thumb. Cool, whatever. The handle skit, you'll see that there's no pivot screw on there. There is, actually, it's right here on this side where the pocket clip is. But you have to peel it off with your thumbnails. You probably see, I've already been wrecking it because I had to get it off. And I was kind of afraid of opening the knife. I even looked it up, how to open up this Schrade SCHA3CB. I looked that up, didn't find any information. You have to lift this up. You can use your fingernail, and it's kind of sticky and has like a glue or some sort of adhesive on there. And the pivot screw is right there. And I just tightened it down a little bit because it was having quite a bit of side to side. There's still a little bit. There's a hair, but that's to be expected for an assisted knife, especially. You got to have some play usually, just enough to fit maybe a human hair or so. But the lockup's good, and the deployment's still good too. So we have a good lockup. We have a good deployment. Getting to the pivot screw is a bitch. That sucks. Speaking of bitches. The pocket clip sucks. The tension is just too tight, and on top of that, it's on top of this rubberized material, which I think sucks. I don't like rubberized materials on knives. Sorry if that was harsh. If you like rubberized materials, I can't say it sucks. It's just I don't like them. I just feel like I can rip them up and deteriorate them very easily with my bare hands. That's what I don't like. But the pocket clip lies on there, and not only is it on the tighter side, it's on top of a rubber material, so getting it out of your pocket is kind of hard. You have to grip like right here. If you grip right here, you're also going to be gripping the material on your pocket, so when you're pulling up on it, you won't be individually pulling the knife out of the pocket, you will also be pulling your pocket up with the knife, so you'll be getting no progress at all trying to get the knife out of your pocket, and that sucks. So you have to pull a tricky, you got to grip right here, and you don't have a whole lot to grip onto, and oftentimes I'll end up grabbing right here the knife in a tricky sort of way and pull it out that way. It's not good for muscle memory. It's slow, piss poor speed, which is very contradictory. We have an assisted knife, which is supposed to be faster. Oh, you push a button and the knife deploys out really quick. Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, well, good luck getting it out of your pocket in the first place. That's not a very fast knife. It's very contradictory to me. Slow extraction, quick deployment. It's just, I don't know. You can try loosening it. After this video, I'm probably going to try loosening this pocket clip up, just like I did on that Range Boss by Cold Steel. Also had a very similar problem, way too tight of a pocket clip. This one's just a little bit too tight as well. I'm going to have to loosen that. But it carries okay. You can see there's not a whole lot poking out of your pocket there. I don't mind the pocket clip design. I don't like it. I don't dislike it. If it was more squared off and like zigzag, they did something kind of cool to design, that would be cool. It would fit the rest of the knife because the blade fits the handle's design. But the pocket clip does not. It just kind of looks like it's slapped on there last second, but whatever. It's pretty common. And you can see it's pretty proprietary looking right there. That's kind of cool. The end of the pocket clip with the screws fits with the handle material right there. It looks like it's actually designed to be there. Again, a little cramped. I wish I had more to hold on to. You can try. Like, I naturally want to scooch up here. That feels a little bit more comfortable, but my finger is dangerously close. It's actually touching that cutting edge, and that's what bothers me. So I wouldn't even bother gripping up here. You're just a little bit too close. You can try going right here, I guess, but that's not comfortable either. This bolster area is, you can see how zigzaggy the material gets. It's just not the most comfortable. I feel like I want to reach up further on the knife, like again right here, but it's just, it doesn't fit the human hand very well. Fits okay right here up until you get down to this area. I want more to grip onto. It's just kind of cramped. It's kind of a short, stubby, chunky little knife. I like how there is a thick handle, so there's a lot to grip onto. I like that. That's nice. It's kind of a compensation for that. But the ergonomics are not a thumbs up. I would give them like a C-. Deployment's good. Give it like an A. And I don't mind the magic flipper. It doesn't help with anything, but it doesn't hurt anything other than not having a guard. So whatever. It's fine. You can wave this off of your pocket. I actually accidentally did that once. I was trying to pull this sucker out with this super tight pocket clip, and it did actually wave off with that thumb plate right there. But if that bothers you or you think it gets in the way, you can take it out. There's a screw right there, so you can just use it as a flipper knife. The looks are cool. I think it looks awesome. The aesthetics of it are really, really sweet. It's just interesting, weird, young boy, kind of toy, sci-fi looking Star Wars-y knife. I know that's kind of what it looks like, and I think it's cool. Cheesy, but cool. I like it. And it is a functional knife. It's not a toy. It is a functional cutting edge. It will cut. You can kill people with this thing. You can cause a lot of damage with these things. So that's another thing that is kind of cool about it. It is a tool, not because you can kill people with it, but just because the fact that it is a usable tool, despite maybe not looking like one to some. A little heavy, so it's not a great EDC knife, but it's not a bad one. It's chunky, it's heavy, it's stubby. And most people are not into all three of those things. If it were a little bit lighter, longer handle, maybe a little bit slimmer, a little bit more comfortable, maybe they threw a better blade steel on there, then I could forgive more of these things. And then, of course, having the pivot screw hidden underneath the rubber. I mean, it's interesting. It looks really clean. It looks pretty cool, but I wouldn't mind seeing the pivot screw right there. I like this triangle. That's a cool-looking design right there. But, again, you got to lift it up to get to the pivot screw, and I would imagine if you kept doing that over time, it would just get weak and eventually not stick anymore. So that's, again, it's just hokey. I don't like hokey things. I could just peel off my knife with my bare fingers with no tools whatsoever. It's almost there, it's cool. I still like it. I still carry it. Carrying it kind of sucks ass. The apocalypse sucks. Once I fix that, then it'll probably be okay to carry, but it doesn't even carry that well either. Good deployment, but poor carry. Not great ergos. Kind of a poor blade steel for the money. I can't say this is a good or a bad blade steel. It all depends on how much you're paying. But for what you're paying, you can do better, $38, if it's for 30, that would be fine, but it's approaching $40, I don't know. Not terribly impressed. It's not a very impressive knife by function. It's kind of subpar, not very exciting, but it looks very exciting. It is cool looking, and it is functional. It's not the worst knife ever. It's just not a good knife. It's not good. I don't recommend it for the money. Although it's not terribly expensive, there's just way too much competition. There's way too many better, more functional knives out there. One thing that's great, I love the safety mechanism. No, I don't really care for it when it's in the pocket, but I like how you can use it as a lock for the lock. I don't understand the mechanics of it. I don't really know how it works. I can't tell. It's all internal. It has nothing to do with the liner lock. It just keeps the blade from disengaging. I feel like you could disengage that if you really tried. I just don't want to cut myself. My fingers are going to slip and they're going to get slit right open by that cutting edge right there. So I don't think it's really strong, but it's like a little safety mechanism for the lock. It's already very unlikely the liner will disengage all the way. It's even more unlikely that you'll get the blade to disengage as well with the liner moved out of the way simultaneously. So it's a lock for the lock. That strengthens it. That's cool. It looks cool. It is tip-up carry. The assisted torsion bar in there works well. The lockup is pretty good. Again, it's just expensive for the blade steel, and it doesn't carry very well, and it's not that comfortable. So we have some pros and some cons on here. So what's the verdict? This has been kind of a weird review. It didn't flow very well. I know it's hard for me to talk about this knife because there's so many contradicting things about it. And I happen to love it. I like it anyway. I still carry it. I still use it because I think it's cool. It's a cool fondling blade. It's a fun knife to play with. It looks really cool. It is assisted, which works well. And again, functionally speaking, once it's open and it's in your hand, it's fine. It's grippy enough, the ergos are there, it's sharp, it's got enough choils and cutouts in there to lock your hand in place in a stressful or defensive situation. It will work. I love the chameleon color right there. It's so unique. It's very interesting and unique in its own right. It's just, there's too many better knives out there for the money. Again, if this were $20, cool. Awesome. It beats all the M-Techs, that's for sure. All the really cheap stuff. It's a lot better than those. The step above those, it's just not much more than that. You really, really have to like the way this knife looks to like the knife. There's just so many problems with it, but I still carry it. I still like it. If I loosen up that pocket clip right there, Loctite that pivot screw in after I get it to a good tension. So it is what it is. The knife is, it's just, there's a reason I bought it. I like the way it looks, and I heard a lot of things about the ergos not being great and this and that, but I still wanted one anyway. And you know what? I wasn't surprised. I still liked it. I still like the knife overall, and if you really like the way it looks, go ahead, buy it. Again, just don't be surprised if it doesn't carry very well and this and that. Here's one last thing I want to bring up. You can see the handles protruding out right here with this material. Technically or legally speaking, the blade length of a knife is measured by the highest point of the handle to the tip of the blade. So let's say maybe they extended this handle material outward like that. Would that make the blade actually this short? Interesting. So technically speaking, we probably knock off like a 1/16 of an inch or so of the edge right there as far as legalities are concerned. Maybe some knife companies might want to borrow that. You want to make the knife edge as long as possible, but you want to get through some legalities. You can use that as a non-lethal impact tool. Ouch, that would hurt. Polymer, aluminum, whatever that material is, I don't know. It's cool though. If you like the way it looks, sure, buy it. Just don't be surprised if you're like, oh, I don't like this and this and this about it. Yeah, it's not great, but you know what? I still love this knife anyway. If I were 12 years old, 12-year-old Mannix would have been like, this is the coolest knife ever. This is my favorite knife in my whole collection. 26-year-old Mannix, I still like it. It brings out my inner child. It's like a Power Ranger knife or something. So, anyway, there you go. Something different.